Today we were working on creating solutions for facing the long arm pass rush, and from there we kind of looked at some of the finishes that defensive linemen do, like when they go to a speed off of the long arm, or kind of a bull rush from the long arm, or even a long arm to an outside arm swipe. When we look at defenders' moves, they all come in different stages, and every stage presents different opportunities and solutions, both for the offense and defensive player. The early stage of the long arm is the defender's intention, so they've committed to the long arm, but they haven't established connection or had any contact with the offensive player. The arm or hand is traveling towards your chest, and at this moment, the offensive lineman has options that will disappear once the defender establishes connection. And those options are the various ways we can attack the defender's long arm before it even gets into contact with our chest. It's just like in striking sports. We don't wait for the jab to land before we defend it, and we have various options. We could parry, we could slip, we could even roll from the punch. It's simply a way to solve an early version of a problem. In the late stage of the long arm, now the hand has reached the chest and the defender has established a connection. The problem has changed. The question is no longer can I prevent the long arm? It's now that given that this long arm exists, what are my best solutions? So your solutions have changed from early stage, but the solutions are going to be somewhere along the lines or a mix of removing a connection, establishing your own connection, or getting your feet and the hips into a better position. And in that late stage is where the consequences really live. Once the long arm is established, the defender's next option is shaped by two things: the O-line's position and how long the defender can preserve the connection. So with good position, good space, and good movement, the long arm is way more manageable. But if that blocker drops their outside hip or opens their shoulders or doesn't address the connection, or even if they just bring their feet together, that defender can transition seamlessly to an outside swipe, turn the corner, or just drive you right through the pocket, which it freaking sucks. So that's why I don't look at many of the moves that defensive players do as a single move. So the long arm to me, it's not a single move. It's more about them maintaining influence over the block or the interaction between the offensive and defensive player long enough to exploit our position and minimize our options. And that's why we address the early stages of the long arm. So the earlier you solve a problem, the more options you have. The later you solve it, the fewer options that remain. But solutions exist throughout the rep, unless you end up on your back, which it happens and it sucks also. So the game starts out with the defender having the task of establishing connection with the offensive player, so getting your hand to their chest. And the offensive player's objective is to stop the hand before it gets to their chest. Simple enough. So if you hit their chest as the defender, you win. And if they stop it, they win. And our first progression with keeping the same objective is that the defender could throw in fakes or feints where he fakes the long arm to see if he could draw the offensive player into a bad position before trying to establish the long arm connection. And then the next variation we add into is that the offensive player can bull rush the defender, and that way we're just keeping them honest with consequences. And the coaching points here aren't crazy. Basically it's, hey, you have two hands that could address the long arm before it gets to you, that early stage, and the defender is going to hit you somewhere in the vicinity of the outside number, somewhere in the vicinity of the inside number, or kind of down the middle, and you address it from there. We could talk about the reps or why this position's bad. You could hit the wrist normally, you could hit the hand, or you could even punch right through the hand, like giving each other a high five that works really well. And then we game the late stage where the defender is starting connected either on the outside number, inside number, or down the middle. And the task of the offensive player will be to address that connection, meaning get that hand off of you. And the task of the defender is to maintain that connection. We also add in the progression for the offensive player where they can't knock the defender's hand down because it does happen where we can't get it off. So they have to get into a good position with their feet, hips, and hands and establish that connection. And the defender's task and that is just to keep driving them back on the long arm. And the final progression is where we add in those consequences. So now that if he knocks the arm off or however he stops us, we just keep going. So we extended the whistle. Now we can kind of work, that long arm to the hand swipe or long arm to bull rush or long arm to around the edge.